Good, thank you. We are in the basement of the auditorium, Eureka Springs Parks and Recreation Commission agenda. It's in front of me here. It's May 16th, 2023, 6:03 p.m. I have a call to order, please. I just did that. A roll call is what I meant. Roll call, please.
Here, I'll do Lori's.
Lori's not.
Secretary.
That's right, Lori's.
Rod Gray,
Here.
Thank you.
Ruth
Mark.
Hager,
Here.
Carissa Litherland,
Here.
Jonathan Teagan,
Here.
Mark Ingram is here, and Sam Dudley is here.
We got
And Laurie Crammond is on the phone.
Yes.
Here?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you, Mark. I forgot Lori was the new secretary.
So we got-
That's her job, right? Okay, we have the agenda. I'm going to motion to approve the agenda, please.
Also move.
second.
It's Mark and Rod is second. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Lori said aye. Motion passes 5-0. Agenda's approved. Do we have any public comments?
Actually, I didn't, is this okay for me to read a public comment from Juanita Kreider, our lake manager? She wanted to,
Yeah, I was going to read that too. Do we need to
Okay.
have that as a public comment? It's not on the agenda as an actual item, is it? No.
I mean, it's sort of under the,
Okay, you should read it as public comment then. That'd be
Okay.
fine. Go ahead, thank you.
sure. I'll read this on behalf of Juanita. So, dear Eureka Springs Parks and Recreation Commission, first, thank you for all you do for our parks and for us. I am writing today as I was hoping to attend the commission meeting this evening, but will be unable to attend. I have met all of you except for Rod, and I feel I need to share my experience, observations, and concerns with you about the invasive curly pondweed. The curly pondweed is directly affecting operations within our park. Our boat rentals are down, and it is nearly impossible to navigate boats at this point. When trying to paddle, the paddle blades are immersed in curly pondweed, which then wraps itself around the blades to fall on your boat, head, and body. It is also getting stuck in the rudder of the paddle boats, which makes them even harder to paddle. It is so thick that birds are standing on it. Not little birds either. Great blue herons are perching on the islands of clumped vegetation. Fishing is nearly impossible from the shoreline and the dock. Swimming is practically non-existent, even though the park attendants and myself have been hand raking and shoveling as much of the pondweed as we can from the marina and diving dock area. The first questions I receive each day from guests are, what is wrong with your lake, and what are we going to do about it? It is sad to have a looping conversation with our guests regularly on the condition of the lake and not having any answers. Many visitors amongst all ages and lifestyles are having a tainted experience of our charming park due to issues being directly tied to the curly pondweed. It is negatively affecting our lake aesthetically and functionally. Please help us come up with a management system and solution quickly, as the lake is the heart of our park, and at this point, my heart is breaking because of its condition. And then she said, I feel it's important to note the lake was clear up until April 20th. The bloom happened very quickly. Sterile carp were introduced to the lake several years ago to manage the weeds. And then she added some photos, but I have a photo that I printed out that sums it up pretty well. I mean, I didn't want to print 6 or 7 color photos. So the one I'll show you is very similar to the one she included. So
It's like a large portion of the lake is covered with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's bad. If you've been down there, it's bad.
It is bad.
It is bad.
And are you going to put copies of these photos and/or her letter in the minutes or in the file or something, so we'll have it?
yes, they were included in that email, the
Oh, that's right,
photos
they
that I
were.
forwarded you guys.
That's right,
So,
okay.
yeah.
Make sure we had it somewhere. Okay, no other public comments? Chairperson's comments, that's what I was going to comment about, so we're done with me. I was going to talk about that because I went out there the other day and looked at it, and yeah, there are birds on top of the pondweed, and it looks like no one should be out there in a boat because the pondweed looks like it would drag you down under like a horror movie or something. It looks bad. It's growing very quickly this year, so I hope we can come up with a solution. That's it. Sam?
Okay. Once again, I feel like this was really long-winded, but hope you guys feel differently. So it's been another busy month for parks. However, we got once again, a good team in place, and, we're all feeling pretty good about going into Memorial Day weekend. Welcome to the commission again,
Thank you.
Mr. Tigan. Teagan. Wait, one more time.
Tigan.
Tigan.
Like a tiger.
Mulch was delivered and spread at LLCP Playground. A big thank you to all the volunteers who came to help that day. It definitely could not have happened, at least not in one day, without all the help that we got. So that was a great event. The capstones at Harmon Park Playground have been repaired, and the repairing of the fence above the bathroom is underway as well. In fact, there is no fence above the bathroom at the moment, but we have it all roped off. So that's happening quickly, which is great. The Sal Wilson Memorial Service was last weekend. Thanks to everyone who volunteered to come out there. It was really fun, and I think it went about as smoothly as you could possibly imagine for that many people. Special thanks to Darren, who really organized everything. So, in-town trail developments, including the new brochures, continue to make progress. A big thank you to the Crescent Hotel for donating towards the purchase of the new cedar posts, which we'll be installing soon, as well as signing the easement for the new trail that runs parallel along Spring Street, which I started today. Not quite finished, but it's really close. And another big thank you to the former In-Town Trails Committee for covering the cost of the signs, which will go on the posts. So it's going to be really exciting to have all this stuff done. See it come to fruition. Crescent Spring Wall is almost finished. The plants are in there. We went out there and did our best masonry impression and dry stacked a bunch of rocks above the benches to try to make it suitable. And I think it works well. I mean,
Yeah.
I ain't gonna
If
say
anybody
it's-
hasn't gone down there to look at it now versus, when was it, a week ago or so?
Yeah.
Y'all did that. It's amazing. Saved a lot of money. It looks great. You guys did a good job on that.
thank you. And Stacy still needs to come back and, grout which he plans to do soon, from what I heard. Grout in between the cracks and stuff. There's just a lot of little touch-up stuff, but after that, he should be done. We installed that new sign at Gad Spring and should have a few more for the other springs in and around East Mountain soon. Some of them are like unlabeled, so you just sort of roll up on them and you don't really know what they are. So we're going to put some of those cool cedar signs up, which will be a nice touch. Nikki and I uncovered a donation of over $3,600 made some 6 years ago that was intended for the park renovations, specifically to have water hydrants installed inside each dog park, so people don't have to go out and fill up those gallon jugs and haul them in. So that's going to be something we're going to have to bite off this year. No pun intended there, sorry. Just to be clear, like the money was given to us and deposited 6 years ago. It's not like we just stumbled upon a big wad of cash. It's like, so
It's just been sitting in the bank.
so
I
we
remember
definitely
it.
need to
Yeah,
do something.
I remember it when it happened, and all the time that was put into people trying to decide what to do with it, and discussions and back and forth, and then somewhere in the director changing and all there, I guess it just got,
I think we got a pretty good plan. I've
they
been
couldn't
working
ever
with,
decide what to do with it. I think that's good to have a plan. I'm glad.
Yeah, it's a lot of moving parts. There's a lot of things that are going to have to be organized. It's not just like putting in a hydrant, unfortunately. I had to call a plumber and then tear part of the fence down. And so it's a big one, but we'll get it done. We ordered 4 new signs for Bee City USA, just FYI, to place on the city entrances. Ken Trimble does all this work for us, and the signs look terrible right now. So those are getting printed up, and we'll put them, the highway department will put them up on all the entryways into town. They'll look a lot better. New campground signage at LLCP is also in the works. So when you pull into the park, you'll know where to go. July 4th event is coming together nicely. I mean, Susan has just been, pretty amazing in terms of getting all this stuff organized. So we got a dunk tank and a water slide ordered. I've already asked the mayor and Simon and Jacob from the city and maybe Michael as well to volunteer to do the dunk tank with me, I'm obviously going to do it. So, we'll charge people like $5 a throw or something like that, and try to dunk your least favorite Eureka politician. Should be fun. We traded our Expedition for the building inspector's F-150 XL, which means we won't need to purchase a new Trails vehicle next year. So
Yay.
we went from like having a car that no one really knew what to do with to having a new Trails truck. We also received up to $17,000 from CAPC to fund the final stage of the Basin Park study. So once they give us the bill for that, we'll pay it, and CAPC will reimburse us, or we'll figure out how to do that exactly. But big thank you to CAPC for that, because that was a big, scary bill. The broken concrete bench. Yeah, I met with a local here in town who seems to think he can fix that broken concrete bench at Basin. Yeah, that's about it. Sorry, that seems like a lot.
It's good.
It's like a whole month goes by before I see you guys, Jeez. What happens in a month?
I have a question.
Yeah.
What is former In-Town Trails Committee? Is that no longer a committee, or is it
So,
some kind of name for it?
committees come and go. Like, we had a Trails Committee a year ago, but, they kind of dissolve. And this particular group had actually started a bank account and raised money by selling shirts. And so,
Okay.
but when they dissolved, they didn't spend that money, and they also didn't, I guess they were kind of hoarding it away until something good came around that they wanted to invest in. So,
Okay,
yeah.
thank you.
And I meant to ask Dorothy about that the other day, because there was also that other Trails Committee that was a separate entity, as in it didn't come from under the commission. So
Yeah.
how does that? And then it attached itself to that Outdoor Alliance Committee, and then it became a separate Trails thing.
Yeah.
Or it became, and that's kind of how things got mixed up too. I wanted to ask her whether I know that money was raised by that group. It's not just the committee that was part of our commission, under our commission.
Yeah, I don't think it had anything to do with the commission, did it?
It kind of started with the commission, the committee that came under our commission, and then it became part of this, or expanded into this somehow, and then
Yeah.
it got absorbed into it. Okay, that was good to know. Very thankful they gave us, found it.
I don't know where they came from, but they gave us a big fat check, so we'll take it.
Any other questions for Sam about his director's report? Is that the whole director's report? Did we get to the bottom? I flipped the page just too soon? Nope, there it is. Okay. Speaking of committees, do we have any committee reports tonight?
The Long Range Committee is going to kick off again, so we paused. And this Friday, we have our next meeting. And we'll sort of reorganize and just see where we're
If that's
heading.
Carissa, I can't hear her.
Oh, yeah.
Pull your microphone closer.
Oh,
Carissa.
sorry.
Yeah,
Can
there
you
you
hear
go.
me now,
The
Lori?
acoustics are bad in here.
Yeah, that's much better, thanks.
Okay. So I think I was further away than the 4 inches. So again, the objective is going to be to make sure that we outline a process for how we evaluate proposals that come before the parks in terms of improvements, whether that's from an individual or corporation or whatever. We've got a one-pager put together, but it needs review. And then we will be working on outlining a process flow that shows the decision points, what needs to come to the council or the commission, what can be decided at a director or parks level, that sort of thing. What needs to be evaluated with the NERP, the Natural Resource Preservation Plan, et cetera. And we are actively looking for people to join that committee. We do not have enough people. We're doing what we can with the resources we have.
Okay. Anything else? Any questions for Carissa? No? Anything with the Finance Committee?
Nothing from the finance.
Nothing? Nothing exciting?
Nothing exciting.
Okay.
That's
Yeah.
good.
Yes.
Come on.
All right. Old business. First, number 1 says sale of items. Sam has prepared something for us to look at here.
Yeah, and sorry, I know Steven's here to do something, but I figured this is sort of old business because we talked about it before, but we haven't really, I don't know if we voted on, I don't think we ever voted officially on it.
No, we didn't.
Yeah. So I talked with the city clerk, and she gave me a really simple flow chart that I put on the Dropbox folder about like what permission you need to get certain things sold. Made it a lot easier for me to kind of figure out how we can go about this. So there's a list of things that I put together. The 2002 Dodge Ram, I mean, I tried taking it down there to Leatherwood to see if people would start using it, and just, it drives awful. It's just like, it's so hard to drive, and I don't think anyone's gonna drive it. I asked Cooley if he's been doing it, our groundskeeper, and Juanita's also not crazy about it. So I'm just like, okay, well, let's go ahead and put it out there and see what we can get for it. P.S. The values I put on these are like the minimum reserve values that we would have on there, not like,
Okay.
so we'd start there and then hopefully we'd be able to get more, but
That's my question, Sam, is how do you go about selling? Do you put them like?
it's on govdeals.com,
Oh,
so
okay.
you list it.
So you could go online
Yeah,
okay,
it's sort of like eBay, but it's,
okay.
yeah, a little more boring to be honest, but that's okay. The wood chipper that we never use, yeah, we just don't use it, and it's sitting down there losing value every year, so we might as well get what we can for it. Kubota mower, it's broken. Not much else I can say about that. It's an engine issue, so I mean, we either spend a bunch of money to fix it, or we see what we can get for it. It's, pretty old, so I think fixing it doesn't really make sense at this point. Old Christmas decorations for light poles. We're going to sell these because we're getting new Christmas decorations for the light
Hooray.
poles. Yay! If you guys don't vote to let me sell those, I will quit right here, right now. I'm so tired of seeing those things. Get them out of my face. Golf carts. There's 2 of them. They're just so old. I mean, I don't mind the idea of having golf carts, but if we're going to have them, we should get gas-powered ones and get some newer ones that aren't so run down. I mean, they're just, yeah, they're a maintenance nightmare at this point. So
They're electric?
they're electric, which is nice, but there's some issues with the electric ones. The
Okay.
batteries kind of
Sure.
run out of juice pretty quick, and
Okay.
they're quiet, which is good. A handicap porta potty, which it was the one next to the visitor center. It's old. I mean, I put $100 on there. That might be ambitious.
We may pay somebody $100 to come get it.
Yeah.
Exactly. So, yikes. And then the ones with asterisks next to them are ones that I'm also going to need to get the mayor's approval. So all the carpentry tools, and then also the e-bike. The plan for the e-bike is to use it as a raffle item for the Jamboree event.
Good.
I figure it's kind of a cool way to raise money, instead of just going around asking people for donations, you could
That's
say,
great.
buy some raffle tickets. So
Mhm.
I imagine we'll make more than $1,000 off of it. So,
Yeah.
and then all the carpentry tools, I could go through those if you want, but I mean, hopefully you get a chance. Yeah.
Just specifically, Sam, why do these 2 things require mayor approval, but the others
Because
don't?
they won't go out to competitive bids. So if it's $5,000, like, is this magical
Oh, I see.
number? So if it's under $5,000 and it goes out to a competitive bid, like on govdeals.com,
Right, so,
then we don't need to get the mayor's approval. But
okay.
the carpentry tools, I think we can sell, locally here without having to. The Gov Deals thing is a lot of, it's a lot of work. So
And the raffle for the e-bike, you've already checked on the rules for what to do for
yeah, so it's
giving
kind
away?
of weird. I mean, I
Yeah, there are
don't
weird rules about that.
understand. I was kind of figuring it out as we
As long as you
went.
know
But
them.
so long as we hand every person over the age of 18 one raffle ticket, when they come in to the event, then it's totally okay. But then we'll also be selling like additional raffle tickets. So you get one,
Okay.
but if you want, another one, it's $5, or I think we'll probably do like
Okay.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
$5 for $20 or something. Yeah. So
And did we actually own that handicap porta potty? I guess we
yes,
did.
yeah, we checked with Steve Septic because we're going to see if he could move it for us, but turns out since it was ours, he's like, well, I'm not going to move it for you. But we went ahead and took the liberty, and it's down at the boneyard. I couldn't handle the stench anymore. It was
Oh,
really bad.
Well, they've been cleaning it out though, right? No?
Yeah, but it just sits
But
out there in the
isn't theirs.
sun.
For some
and
reason, I
it's-
thought it was theirs. I forgot.
Yeah, they did one final like total clean out on it, so it's good. It's not full of anything, but
Not a health hazard.
yeah, I'm sure it's still that. But
It's run down. It's just old.
Yeah.
Been around for a long time. Okay. Any other questions about the items, Sam? So what do you need from us? You need,
just a vote to. I don't know if we need to vote on them all
No, I don't.
separate. I mean, they're all listed, so it's like, do we? I think we can just vote.
I think someone
As
could
a-
make a
as a
motion for
package.
everything.
well, do we have to make a motion on the ones that also need the mayor's approval?
Yes,
Or-
yeah, yeah.
Okay, all right. Well,
Yeah.
then I make a motion that we approve the sale of all of these items listed from A down to H, including all of the individuals under H.
I second.
It's Rod and Mark. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5-0. You have permission. Mayor's approval, you just mentioned that, so you're just going to get mayor's
Yeah,
approval?
for the
and then
e-bike and the
separate, right?
carpentry tools. But I mean, if you guys, usually what happens if you guys vote on it, the mayor's like, okay, well, it's been reviewed. So,
Good.
Okay,
yeah.
okay. Let's see, where am I? Is that all the old business? I guess it is, isn't it? New business. Stephen Dickey is here to talk to us about naming of hollows. Isn't he?
Hey.
Hello, Steve.
And as Steven's talking, you guys can just pass that down and look at that one photo there, if you haven't seen it
He
yet.
was on the Dropbox.
Oh, yeah. That's what Steve-
I don't know why I haven't seen it.
You still good with that?
I'm learning.
I don't know, did the email go forward? Did everybody get a chance to email, or is it just you, or?
I think everyone, I put it in the,
Yeah.
there's like a PDF, and then I
The PDF?
forwarded
Okay.
an email, but
What I can do is I'll just read through this so I don't miss anything.
Okay.
Really only looking at
I called it the naming of hollows, and I'd just like to make some recommendations for the naming of 2 hollows to the east of Lake Leatherwood. We work in these areas quite a bit for research and conservation, so a name reference would be useful to those researchers and volunteers. So my recommendations are based upon my experience, so I submit them as one of many possible names for consideration. So it's not just these that would be useful. And public outreach like we're doing today, and I think discussion may result in other viable name options. So, and also maybe bring out a little bit of history on Eureka Springs, which is always fun to learn when you find someone comes up and says, well, I know that hollow, or I know that place, and here's the history behind it. So that might be a fun experiment. First of all, the first hollow was the one extending southeast of the Lake Leatherwood Quarry. And this area is home to an intermittent stream that feeds the northeastern arm of Lake Leatherwood. It also contains elements, of course, of the quarry that was used to extract stone that was used on the dam facing on the north side of the dam. It also has some dolomite glades on the upside of the quarry and up the hill, and large populations of some species of conservation concern that I know you're all familiar with. And I recommend this name Quarry Hollow for this one due to the historic quarry itself, and that it is located on the northeast corner of that terrain feature. So it kind of gives a reference point, and everybody kind of knows about the quarry. A lot of times people come to see the quarry specifically. The next hollow is extending southeast of the ballpark entrance road. This area is home to an intermittent stream again that feeds the southeastern arm of Lake Leatherwood, and it contains remnants or artifacts of an old highway into Eureka Springs, and some of the largest trunk diameter leatherwoods that I have seen in the park. And so far, it all falls within the confines of, falls within the confines of Lake Leatherwood City Park. So I recommend the name, this one's where I had a little bit of fun. I call this one Deception Hollow. And in light of the Hidden Road remnants and the presence of the D. decipiens, and that particular species, that name is derived from the Latin word meaning deceiving or deceptive. Not that I know Latin, but I looked it up. And so that particular hollow is home to, again, a hidden road and a deceptive shrub. So I think that's kind of fun. And it gives a reference point to people who visit that they have these hollows, because we have Hyde Hollow we're familiar with. We have Pivot Rock Hollow, which is associated with Pivot Rock, which is a commercial site. And then we have Mulladay Hollow. We're all very familiar with that. We use that one routinely. I have a definition for hollow if anybody wants it, but I think we all kind of know what a hollow is, especially if we all live in the Ozarks. And go on to the next page here. Almost done. So some of the benefits, first of all, would ease of location reference for the community, our visitors and researchers. Number two, it will enable common reference names for reports and studies. Right now, when I do my own reports, I'll use the names I made up, just for me. But if you take it external to the park, you'll say the southeastern corner of Lake Leatherwood. Well, that's kind of a broad area down there, and sometimes people could pick the wrong hollow, and that's not helpful. Or you give geochords. Geochords are very good for very good precision, but they're a little bit dry when you're trying to engage people in a study or report about some species that we have in the area. Number three, it gives a presence to locations and helps connect individuals with natural landscapes, plants, and animal life. It's kind of it's a human thing of us. We want things have names, and we say, well, I went to this place, and you remember the name. You don't say, I went to Geochord North 34, but whatever, you say the name. And four, it assists in developing a historical narrative and a reference. And a good example of this would be Miners Rock. There's good historical references there. There's some contentious issues about Miners Rock and the loop up there. So all these things are kind of in our local vernacular right now. And Pivot Rock, I said, and then Mulladay Hollow. So key to me is its ties to unique species and artifacts. Ozark Leatherwood, Blue Ash, and the early roads into Eureka Springs, and some structural foundations to those roads. I was very interested when I was looking, it was very interesting to me when I was looking at the hollow to the southeast, and I went through some maps that were made available to me. Eric Fuselier gave me some maps, when we were doing some of our other research, and I went back, I think it was like 1930s or even earlier, and it showed the old road, and they followed the valley. They did not cut along the side of the hill, probably didn't have the technology or ability to do that at the time. So that was very interesting. Then when you go down there, there's some artifacts down there. It's a concrete abutment with a pipe sticking out of it with a threaded end. And it's kind of like, okay, what's that all about? So I think it would be neat for the historical side of the house to come down and look at that. And when I was walking down that particular hollow one day, hanging from a tree was some kind of metal device. I don't know what it was for. Maybe posted, and I gave it to you after I went back and found it because I forgot it, and I had to go back the next day and find it again. But it's hanging from the tree, which kind of gives you an idea how much water comes down those hollows when it gets going. And this thing's made of iron or steel, whatever. I think it's probably iron. So, and there are a lot of different historical artifacts throughout Lake Leatherwood. So also, I would like to encourage the continuing naming process for the lake. So there's, I thought up another one when I was thinking about this coming in and talking to you today. There's an area where we have a plant that grows in a place, and it baffled me as to why it was there. And then I looked at the topography, and I used another tool that was made available to me made aware of by Theo Witzel. And the area had flattened out, so it was saturated with water, I think, more frequently, and that made sense for that particular plant to be there. So it's kind of like, okay, we can call that XX Flats or something. Give it a neat name, so then it sticks to in your mind. So that's all I have on the recommendations. So, and again, they're just my ideas right now, but there could be other great ideas. But I think as we do this, there are a lot of areas around Lake Leatherwood that we could, not everything under the sun, but certain key geographical features that we use on a routine basis would be helpful, especially to the northwest of Lake Leatherwood. Mm-hmm. It's not unexplored, but it's not talked about much.
Unknown,
Isolated.
It is, which is good,
Yeah.
but also it'd be nice to have some references.
So both the Mulladay and the Pivot Rock Hollow are online. You can go to Google Maps and they're there.
Oh.
Yeah, which I think is good. It, sort of further cements the where are you, what are you doing? So if we do naming to any of the areas, it'd be useful to make sure that they are on the various map websites, Google Maps, et cetera. There's an easy way to add them.
Yeah.
Because that then further cements the ability to point people to, we're going to meet here.
Yeah.
You could actually search it up. So, yeah,
Could help you find somebody in there too.
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a
Standard
big
name
area.
reference, it's very easy to visualize at a certain point. It doesn't mean specifically, but you'll know more specifically what you're talking about. So.
Yeah.
And we do it with the glades. We have the Hyde Hollow Glade Complex, the Rock Glade Complex, and I think we called the one up north the Horizon Glade Complex up on the north. And I think Chris had another name for that. And I'm sorry I forgot it, but he had one he thought up too. So there are ideas out there, and folks have been around a while. So
Well, what are next steps for that, Steve?
I have no idea.
I mean, I think naming of trails goes to the commission. I don't know about specific areas, but
Yeah, it specifically says the commission has to approve naming of trails. They come up with something and we vote to approve it. It does not mention hollows, areas, things like that. Like, it almost seems to me like it's more like planning, or I don't know what
Something that
it.
enters into the common vernacular, I guess, and I can go back to this definition, and I'm not saying this so to refresh your memory. I know you know what a hollow is, but it says hollow, noun, a small sheltered valley that usually, but not necessarily, has a water course. The term occurs often in place names, especially informal ones, as Hell's Holler, North Carolina, and Pleady Holler, Tennessee. And it goes on, it explains it a little further, and this was from a university's .edu site where I got that from. So I don't know that it's necessarily formally done, or I don't know if there's any state requirement or city requirement.
Can we make a motion that these, with the exception of trails, which has to come to the commission, that these types of namings can be at the discretion of the Parks Department? Yeah, provided, and I'd like to make the proviso that they need to be added to social, online, so that they're easily used.
Well, and Steve had mentioned public, there may be informal names out there for these areas that we don't know. It'd be nice to get public input to some of the informal names. I don't know if you want to just
Yeah, there's a
decide without allowing,
Yeah, I can't remember the name. There was a gentleman that Scott was going to talk to that had lived in the periphery of the park, and I can't, for the life of me, I can't remember the name. But there's some really good history, I think, in the local citizens. And they could have had names, that maybe they referred to an area, because the park has gone through a metamorphosis quite a bit. If you look at the old pictures where they've cleared off areas totally, and now they're reforested, mostly the cedar, but, they're reforested. So.
a sort of funny but good example of this is the old pump station trail at Black Bass, which is now Hobo Holler. So originally it was supposed to be Old Pump Station Trail because the old pump station, but then they
That
never
was
really
probably a
made it.
functional name.
Yeah, they never really made it official, and so then all the people who knew about it just started calling it Hobo Holler, and then that just sort of took over.
Which begs the question,
So it's sort of
what was
like-
that about?
Yeah, it's sort of
Why
like,
did they
well,
get
I
that?
think maybe we ought to figure out how to get Steven his names, because those are good names versus in case it ends up being something not so great.
well, I think whether we do a motion or just a
I don't,
I don't think a real motion. I think more of we instruct you to do some research, find a way, whether it's online, whether it's on the blog, have Susan from your office put out something that asks for some public input. Maybe you have 30 days to give us, but anyone in town know about informal names? Maybe collect some information. That makes more sense, doesn't it?
I do think, though, that the commission should do a final vote on motion to actually make the name. And be consistent, but just to be consistent with trails
Yeah.
or pavilions
Yeah,
or
yeah.
anything like that. Just consistently, if we're naming something, we don't want to.
You definitely don't want me to have
Yeah.
the authority to name stuff.
Yeah, so I just feel like
could get dangerous.
Once we collect the information and it comes back and we all agree that that sounds right, then we'll just make we'll just agree to do that. But I think it's healthy to have it through the commission in the minutes, officially a
Yeah.
done thing, and then.
Well, like, it gives
but,
it two
I mean,
sets of eyes.
It's not like we want to get involved in the middle
Right.
of it, but I think it'd be nice for it to be a more formal naming.
I agree. It's like two sets of eyes. He does the research, he comes up with the name, we just say yes or no.
Yeah.
Is there any
Can-
money involved with naming the hollow? Like, do you
No.
have to buy signs for them or
Well,
anything like that?
Probably someday.
Okay.
maybe. I think it'd be kind of cool. I love the whole, everything you said about that. I think it's absolutely right.
Yeah.
Somebody
It-
can say, hey, meet me at so-and-so holler, like you would Hobo or any of the other places. I think it's good to have names.
It doesn't cost anything to add stuff to like the,
No.
you know, sat nav, GPS, the
Right.
maps like
But what I
Garmin,
meant
whatever. But
if
we
we have
might need
signs
to add
up-
it to the next printed map
Yeah, that's, I mean, but that doesn't,
and signs.
Okay.
that's sort of a
Yeah.
passive cost, not really.
It's not, yeah, you
Direct
would be
cost.
updating it anyway, you just add it
Yeah.
in. Can I ask, I was just looking, Harmon Park is listed but doesn't have the website, but Leatherwood is listed, I mean, with the website. And I was
I'm not
just
sure what-
asking if there was a reason. I
I'm
mean,
not sure
I
what
just
you're-
noticed. Yeah, because I was just looking on it to see if Harmon Park bits were named.
Oh, well,
And
I don't want to take Lori
there's no
away from.
website, and it's got a lot less online. I'm just looking at Google Maps.
Oh,
So-
Harmon Park isn't on Google Maps.
Harmon Park is on Google Maps, but there's no website associated with it.
Oh, well, it should be under eurekaparks.com.
And there's a lot more information about the dog park. But that still also doesn't have a website.
Oh, I see what you mean. There's just no button to direct you to the website when you click on it.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
not been associated with the website, where if you go to Leatherwood, it is.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know, it just seems like we should be consistent. And it would be nice to have the website associated with all the parks and all the different,
That should be an easy fix, though.
yeah, it should be. It's in-house, easy.
Some-
Youngins
Susan-
do that.
You'd be surprised, you would actually be surprised how many people come down Linwood trying to find the park. And they turn around and hit a wall that I'm well aware of, that they keep hitting that wall and we've had to rebuild it. So, because they can't turn around, it's a dead end.
Yeah.
And they want to find Harmon Park and they can't find it for some weird reason. I don't know why.
Maybe you guys could buy a little sign from Wicker Walker or somewhere that just says, not Harmon Park. They do that on East Mountain. They put these little arrows up, like where
Yeah.
it's what's off on the Flint Street,
Yeah.
and it says right way, and it like points down where it turns real sharp, and on the other one it says not right way.
All right, yeah. How about little Lake Eureka back there?
Yeah.
Where the Tomlinsons lived. They said we put them not to go in our driveway, keep going that way.
Yeah.
Wrong way, right way. No, I think that's a good place to start with the naming, I agree. And it gives people engagement.
It could be a lot of fun.
Yeah, that sounds like
learn
fun.
something
You've had
as
fun
well.
doing it. Good, I like having real reference to
We do
it.
need to have a ultimate commission vote though, so we don't end up with Bodie McBoatface like they had over there in, or was that in England where they voted on a ship? Yeah.
I believe so.
Whoops. We don't want Hollow McHollowface or anything. Yeah.
Sounds fun.
Okay, that's all I've got then.
Okay.
Thanks, Steve, for that.
Thank you, Steve.
Thank you.
So Sam, you can,
Did you get a brownie, Steve?
There's one left.
Just one left.
all yours.
Please eat it before I do.
One round. Okay, so we got that in.
They're very good.
okay,
I know.
I've already had two.
Zero willpower.
all right. And then Sam, you're just going to keep us informed as to what you come up with, a way to maybe let Susan do something, or one of y'all put something on the blog. I feel like it's important to let the public know
Yeah.
we're doing this in a way that they can,
Be involved.
yeah, say, in the next 30 days, if you know of any previous informal names. I mean,
Okay.
if any public is watching this, we could come up with some way to,
Throw it up on Facebook.
or on Facebook, say, let us know if you know of
Yeah.
anything. And we don't necessarily have to have everybody, all the different thousands of names somebody wants. We just want to know if they're already in, ones existing, pre-existing,
If
and
there's not a pre-existing one, then I might.
it's different, yeah. I think just history and pre-existing ones would be interesting
Cool.
in the decision. Okay.
Oh,
You leaving? Bye. No?
brownie.
Brownie, you want a brownie?
One brownie.
Really good.
Got your name on it.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Bring it back.
Yeah. I probably won't reuse that one.
Thanks for your time.
All right. What's What's next? Oh, the in-town trail reroute.
Yeah, so I met with, turns out, one of my fifth grade teachers, Mr. Mack. Yeah, he's kind of doing all the stuff up there at St. Elizabeth Catholic Church. I don't know if I need y'all's permission, but instead of crossing Crescent Drive and going up that old dirt road, I'm going to reroute the Harmon Loop to go through the church grounds and then up to the bell tower, and then
Nice.
there's a much prettier way up to the front of Crescent as opposed to where the dumpster is in the back. So.
Good idea.
I think
Great
it's great.
idea. I like it.
Yeah.
And you do not need
Again-
our permission for a reroute of that
Okay.
size.
Okay.
There's a specific,
I mean, it's a pretty significant, but
well, I don't know. I mean, because you're still going, if you can find it somewhere in the policy and in discussions, previous discussions, the last time we talked about the size of a reroute we had to approve, you came up and spoke to the commission about something you wanted to reroute. I forgot. We
Oh,
talked
yeah.
about it then.
Yeah.
Remember what that was?
it was probably the trail that would take you to the spot where I wanted to put the bridge.
That was it.
Yeah.
And I think we looked and found there's not, for the smaller reroutes like that, as opposed to a major adding a whole extra thing. I don't,
Yeah, and
we
this,
don't have
I
to
mean,
vote
this
on
doesn't really even, it
Doesn't
doesn't
require a vote,
require
just-
any new trail building either.
Just
so
our
it's-
knowledge and thanks to St. Elizabeth's and to Mr. Mack for doing that, because that will make the trail more interesting
Mm-hmm.
to not end up in the dumpster and to see the
Yeah.
historic things
It
at the
just
church.
I mean, it's a
dumps
nice
you-
dumpster,
it's a-
don't get me wrong, but.
It's a nice route until you end up in a like back alley. It's awful.
Yeah, well, it's nice,
Um,
well, the Crescent is so beautiful too, you get to see the back of it and
Yeah.
and it should be a better,
Can I ask that we add those trails again? You've got tons of trails in Lake Leatherwood that are marked, but none of the in-city ones are.
On where?
On Google.
Oh, I mean,
anything.
they're on, I'll get them up on Trail Forks or something like
But
that, or,
if I give you a list of how to do it, because if we, clearly someone has done it for Lake Leatherwood. You can see
they're all
the
wrong on
trails.
Leatherwood,
Huh?
though. The Google Maps trails are wrong on Leatherwood.
Again,
but-
then we probably need to address that because people may be using it. So if we could make it, while we're doing this, figure out, and I can send you a list of ways to contact the different, because I
Okay.
had to do it because our street was not listed as a dead end and people kept,
There are apps that are much easier to do it on, like,
I've had
Yeah, all the
difficulty.
people will reference their various, either Garmin or Google or Apple or whatever they use.
And you know
if
how,
it's-
that's
yeah.
good. I've had difficulty trying to correct them on things of myself. I've never found the answer sometimes.
FCC has a list
Ah.
of all the different ones and links to it, and you just go in and you fill out a form.
Wow.
And it's not as, because it took me ages till I found that, and then it's
Mhm.
quite easy to just,
Oh, that's so good to know.
yeah. So, again, if we're going to be doing it, it'd be great to update the ones at Leatherwood and also do this, because that's where people will go. They're not going to go to a map for the most part. They're going to go,
And if you get a hold of Google, they'll tell you you have to buy ads and/or spend money to get that fixed.
no, it's easy.
And I kept saying, no, that can't be true.
Google was the easiest one. They were when I had to do this myself, they were the ones that did it within like 2 or 3 weeks. The rest took longer. But,
Yeah, if you want to send that to them, maybe Susan could work on it in the office or something.
yeah.
Let's keep dumping things in Susan's lap while she also has 4th of July to deal with.
Yeah, this isn't
Or
urgent.
Nikki or
but-
something.
well, she's not here to defend herself,
I
so.
was going to say, she's not here.
That's right. Okay, what's next? Oh, reservation fee for the Sal Wilson Memorial Pavilion. Sam, do you want to just speak on this, or do you want me to?
Yeah, I mean, it's not much to say about it. We just feel like would be a good thing to have it to where people could reserve it. If it's not reserved, obviously it's open to the public. You can hang out there. There's no restrictions. But if you want to pay whatever amount we decide on, you can actually reserve it for the day. It's not a camping site. It's from sunrise to sundown. And obviously there's a little bit of wiggle room with the sundown thing if you want to hang out a little afterwards and have a fire, but no camping allowed. Yeah, and then just set a fee for it. So if people want to do that, they can. And you
Sam,
have
what
the,
are you thinking about in terms of how much you want to charge people for a day?
my first thought was $50, but I mean, just because it's a whole day, but
That was
Right.
what was in my head. The other thing, I was just thinking this. So on any given day, if I get up really early and get over there at 8 o'clock in the morning.
Mark, you don't get up early.
And I put my picnic supplies up there, it's mine for as long as I stay there, right? And then, but if if it's reserved, then there'll be a reserved sign there.
Yeah.
And I couldn't get up at 8 o'clock in the morning and go get it all day. That's really the difference. Is that what
Yeah,
we're
like,
talking about?
yeah, it's open to the public, like, for 25 people, you could show up there as a group without it reserved and, like, hang out, but other people can also show up, but if you have it reserved, then you can kind of say, like, hey, we'll put the reserve sign up, saying that there'll be a sign that we can establish that, it's being used by
Yeah.
a specific party, and,
I think $50 is reasonable and
yeah.
Yeah.
easy.
I agree.
And
Especially if there's signage that says.
Makes
reserve
for
people.
planning and all that
People
stuff.
People expect that. That's kind of a norm, I think, to reserve something like that and pay for it.
Yeah.
Well, if you're going to hold a piece of public property for yourself, I don't necessarily think it should be entirely free to do so.
Right.
If you're going to cut other parts of the public out of it,
Right.
probably should be some expense.
Maybe we should look into some of the benches at Basin for, reservation fees. I think a few people get a little territorial.
Drumming in the park.
Tying balloons.
Just because you leave your umbrella on the bench does not mean it's yours, sir.
We have that problem with cones on the parking places on Pine Street too.
Yes, that's
yeah.
true.
Oh,
Okay.
Well, do you want, someone want to make a motion for the $50, or does that sound logical? Do you need to do any more discussion or research, or?
I don't think so. I move that we set the reservation fee for the Sal Wilson Memorial Pavilion at $50.
It's Mark, do I have a second?
I second.
Jonathan, any more discussion? Discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 Motion passes 5-0. Okay. Now, the next thing.
Ooh, the fun one.
Yeah, the fun one. We're going to discuss herbicides, such as glyphosates and Roundup and all those things. And we all know that they're bad. We don't use them. But we've been talking about it. We've all seen the pictures. We've seen the hemlock,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
spoken to,
Yeah.
and looked online at some of the gardening, master gardener, all these things. There are appropriate times to use these things, apparently, if they're carefully done. And Sam, do you want to join in and tell us about the hemlock?
Yeah, and it's funny too, 'cause since noticing it and like really studying what it looks like, the characteristics, now I'm like driving around town, I'll just see these huge there's one like right there at 6223. If you look off to the side, there's this huge swath of poison hemlock. And it's like, man, it's everywhere. But, those areas you don't have to worry about so much. It's not like people are going down there and walking or anything necessarily. But right next to the ball fields, we get a lot of activity there. Obviously, there's hiking trails, dogs are walking around there. There's kids playing soccer. So this is an area that we would definitely want to take care of it. And we tried a few things, but it's hard, and it kind of puts our employees at risk too by having to like interact with it more.
Well, it says here that one was exposed and went to the hospital last
Yes.
year.
Yeah. He had to take a
Yeah,
day
the
off,
arm.
and fortunately didn't get. And we don't have like proof that that's what it was, but he said he'd never reacted to
Okay.
poison ivy or anything like that to that extreme. So, and then we discovered the poison hemlock, and we're like, oh, well, that might be what caused it. So,
Yeah.
essentially, and I looked at that ordinance, and it says that like no herbicide shall be used without the permission of the director. So I don't think we need to like.
Okay,
It's not saying that we
good.
absolutely cannot use it ever, but I do think it's important to notify you guys whenever we do use it. That way,
Guess
the
we get
public
yelled
doesn't
at
come to you.
in public.
Well, yeah, well,
Because we're at a
there's
restaurant,
there's
somebody
a
yells at us.
policy
Yeah.
that was approved by the commission that we shouldn't use, and I didn't remember exactly what it said, and I was looking at it while I was driving, talking to Sam earlier, but it does say without,
Without permission from the
Permission,
director.
director.
So it's like, I mean, this is me coming to y'all, I guess, so it's a little different, but.
This is the permission, we give you permission. Do you think you need a motion to give you permission? Or you just have the permission because we know you're choosing?
Yeah, it's not like I want to go out there. I mean, the stuff's,
And I think it's important to note as well that there was a lot of, I mean, this isn't the first time that the Parks has tried to get rid of the hemlock. There was a lot of work last year done to, what was it, you guys gravelled it off and mulched it off
Yep.
and weed whacked it off, and it's come back even more. So I think there are times when it's warranted because there's nothing else you can do.
yeah.
You can't pull it up, can't burn it. You're not even supposed to put it in your compost. I mean, it's toxic.
Right.
So,
We have to,
and the
not to
fact
be
that
too
it-
funny, pick
yeah.
our poison.
Yeah, and it's next to a
Yeah, pick our
kid's
poison.
ball field. So we need to act. I think it's more of a public hazard to not to do something than to use some herbicide in a selective way.
Should we
I
put up
agree.
a sign after it has been done to alert the public if they come out to the park to say, we have herbicide this and you need to be aware of it? Or because if
From what I've read.
there's
it-
people that are concerned about it, you
True.
need to let them know you've done it.
While you're
before
doing
they
it.
step.
Yeah, I
There's,
think-
there's no residual, I mean, not much residual, not very long. When you look it up and read about and don't look on the companies that makes it, their site, look on other things, you find information about how long. It doesn't persist very long
Okay.
in a way that would harm a person
No, but I
compared
think
to what it does to the plants there.
Well, I did
some
read where it
people
said
are
that it was
sensitive
okay.
about it and sensitive to it, and I think public, it would
Needs
be,
to know.
it's a good idea to give a public notice to say, please note, this has been
Even if
done.
we just put it in the paper or
Yeah,
something, saying,
something.
we're going to spray this date and then let them know.
Yeah.
How is that applied, Sam?
With the poison hemlock spray, yeah, I would assume we go out and actually spray it.
Spray it.
You can't really dab individual
No, you can't.
plants like
No.
that to that
Yeah.
extent. I mean, there's just so much of it, like you
There's
see
so
there.
much of it. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. It's everywhere out there right now.
It's almost like you need a crop duster to spray. No, well, really.
It is. There's a lot
I mean,
of
when
it.
we went out there,
I-
I was blown away by how much was there. And I didn't even
Well,
know
I
what
think
poison
we have
hemlock
to
was.
I think we all have to recognize that there's no way we're ever going to get rid of all of it.
No.
True.
Correct.
All we can do is clear up the area around where all these people are all the time and just accept the fact that you're not supposed to be messing with the plants anyway.
Good point. I like
It's
that.
true.
Yeah.
Sure, but
Yeah.
I agree, Laura.
Yeah, yeah.
but
Yeah.
you can't stop a ball from rolling into that area if it's a child who doesn't have the awareness of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
But I
we wouldn't
think
be doing the
that's
whole.
why-
all-
Keeping the fence at the back will
Yes,
address some
yes.
of that.
Yeah, we all agree on that.
Yeah. And then I think it's just about managing around areas that could be high traffic, right around the
Yeah.
paths,
Recreational type
where the
areas.
balls could roll. Yeah,
Because
we
there are
can-
plenty of, there's lots of acreage out there that people could be out in that, you
Yeah.
have to count on them to recognize.
We can't
I
put
don't
it
know.
everywhere.
You
I
can't,
get rid
you
of it
just
all.
can't. It's just, in recreational areas where human contact is going to happen.
The only thing we'd have to really look into there is, I mean, like shutting down the trail for whenever we're about to do it and putting signs up stating
Okay.
why. But then also just making sure there's not a rain coming like the day after, you know.
I
It
think
probably
most
needs
of
to
those
settle
things
in
like
for a
4
few
hours,
days.
right? Or something
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah, so like just, you know, if there's a big rain coming the next day, maybe don't do it that day, like wait till there's a few days of,
Yeah, that sounds
You
good.
don't want to have to do it again.
It
yeah, and
says-
you don't want it to wash down into the lake and,
That as
you know,
well.
the water, so.
I trust that you, as the director of the parks, will do your due diligence and your research. And if you deem that that is the answer to do this, then you do it. I mean, because
I agree.
it is that important of an issue and it needs to be done. And I know we wouldn't spray anything if it wasn't the absolute.
Yeah, I'd like to
Best
point out
answer.
that I am not excited about doing this. Like, yes, I want to go walk through a field of poison with more poison to kill the poison. Like, definitely
Right.
none of us want to do this. We have enough stuff to do as it is. We don't, but when
But
it
it
gets
is
to that
necessary.
point, it's important. And so we're not like looking for reasons to use herbicides, but like we would never use them in the spring gardens or anything like that. But out there at Leatherwood, it's wild. I mean, there's, you know, so it's too much land to try to manage without.
And like Mark said, you'll do your due diligence, you'll read the instructions, you'll know what you're doing, you'll have your staff following procedures. And that's for the hemlock, but also with the curly pondweed, which is just as big a problem, maybe not for poisoning people, obviously, but it's a safety issue if you're on the lake. It's a economic issue, and the lake is meant to be used recreationally, which it can't be if it is full of curly
Especially
pondweed.
if we can't make money from rentals
Right.
because of it.
So, and you have information, Sam, about all the herbicides that you can use in the lake.
Yeah, and I've talked with Arkansas Game and Fish,
Okay.
and I mean, everyone seems to think that either the, I'm sorry, the Indothol is probably the one that
Yeah.
we'll go with, just because it's faster acting. The Floridone's a little less aggressive, which is good if you have like a pond in your backyard that doesn't have constant water going in and out of it, but the Indothol seems more appropriate because we have water coming in and out of Lake Leatherwood all the time, even though sometimes it doesn't seem like that. So Indothol will act like, I think, within about 7 days, whereas Floridone is about 30. And I'm like, we're never going to find a time when we don't have rain in 30 days. But we definitely find a time in the early summer probably where we can safely do the Indothol.
And have you confirmed with State Parks Department or, even Federal Parks Department that this is exactly what they do in this same situation?
I mean, this is what Game and Fish does a lot, because
Okay. So
when it
it's a
gets out of
common-
control, I mean, there's things you can do to mitigate it, but once it gets to a point, there's just,
Where we
it takes
are.
off, and, yeah. I mean, there's grass carp, which we have apparently plenty of, but, I
They're
mean,
still out
this
there,
this
huh?
is too much, yeah.
There's
And
carp
you
out
can't
there,
just
but they're
keep
not
adding
eating it.
grass carp, because then the grass carp eat the other fish, and you just end up with another problem, so.
So again, mitigating actions were taken. They haven't been effective, so,
Yeah.
and it's gotten bad.
Yeah, I think the
So-
problem partly is that it is a recreational area, so it's like, people
Yeah.
go out there on their boats and like, let's say there's one little small chunk of this stuff, they go through it and they paddle through it and it breaks it up and then it spreads it. And so I think
You know
that's
where
the
else
issue
it
that
can, you know
we're,
where else it comes from? There are lakes all over I've seen their policies, places where you can't just put your boat in somebody's lake without making sure it's cleaned first. Cleaning off your motor because they don't want you to bring curly pondweed from somebody else into your lake.
yeah.
So I don't know what that, how
Yeah, and I
long-term.
don't want to talk about that tonight, but
No, I don't
eventually I'd like to
either.
talk about, I don't
But it-
understand why we let people bring their big motor boats and stuff down into the lake. I'm like,
Do we?
Go to Beaver Lake.
I
You
didn't
wanna
know
do
we
that.
allowed that.
That's my opinion. I'm just saying.
Okay.
I agree with that
I didn't know we
opinion.
did.
We'll get to that. But
Yeah.
in the meantime, for this,
In the meantime,
Yeah.
we don't need a motion, I don't think. We just
I
need
don't either,
to be,
just think
no,
again.
that is your purview
you
to
do
do
your
this.
research, you do your stuff, you do the right thing with the right
Yeah.
intent, and
You can't kill too much of it at a time, because otherwise they'll throw off the oxidation level of the lake. So we'd have to just hit the most important areas this year and just hope that it works well enough. And
Yeah, it's probably not a one-time process, probably several times.
oh, it'll be like years.
Every-
Yeah, but
Okay.
hopefully this, watershed assessment grant will
Oh, that'll help too. Yeah, that'll give us
dredging it and
information.
really tearing out the root systems will help a lot.
Okay.
Gotta get rid of those geese though too. My God, they're everywhere.
We
There's
should
so
sell
many
Can we
geese
sell
out
the
there.
geese? Can we sell them? On
For
government-
Christmas dinner, you mean?
I don't know. Decorative park
I'll
geese.
talk to Game and Fish and ask, because I think what's happening too is they're pooping so much in the lake that it's throwing off the nitrogen levels, and that's what's giving the pondweed so much fuel to grow, and other things, the algae and the lily pads and all that, so.
All the things we've tried to get the geese to either leave or change their habits where they, not in the swim area, say across the lake, and roosting and all these things. I don't know that anything's really been successful with them for anybody that I know of in the whole country.
We were out there
They're
for
hard to reason with.
Sal's thing, and it was just like looking at Goose Island from the other side, and it was like a stare down, like between two armies, it was like this army of geese over there just quacking at you, and you're like, okay,
Okay,
see how it
yeah.
is. There's a lot of you now. All right.
Yeah, I don't know what the answer for that is, but it probably is upsetting the
it's not good. I mean,
No.
there's probably 50 or 60 geese in there now that are just constantly
But
dropping.
when the swim area in past years has had, testing, not necessarily by us, but when they're talking about lakes in the area, and they talk about not just us geese causing problems in swim areas. They put too much in one spot, it's not a place to swim, or
Yeah.
a good place for the good plants to grow, because you need good plants to keep out the bad plants.
Yes.
Well, I was just thinking, like, if you just do a small area, you're going to know immediately how effective that work is, right? Like, if you're just doing a little bit at a time.
Yeah, I'd probably buy like a small portion of whatever we decide to go with and apply it just in a small area that's not, maybe not used a lot, like
Right.
take it out somewhere and then we can kind of watch it before we buy a bunch of this stuff. But
But I'm going to say it out loud one more time. Do we need to give a motion for permission?
I don't believe we do.
I don't believe so.
Because it's the same way with the other.
I
So,
agree.
I don't think
It's
so.
just yeah, you already have the ability to do this, just letting us know.
Just director's discretion.
Yeah, Sam read over the policies earlier, so, okay.
Okay.
Anything else? Any other questions or things about this? Bad plants?
Well, the fact that the chemicals will not affect drinking water or swimming, and that, I think that's a sign that just do it.
it's granular, so like we're not like, it's not a spray or you throw in like, it's like fish food, you throw it in there, it sinks to the bottom and then it just
And it works on the
kills
roots.
the roots, yeah,
Okay.
which is what you need it to do.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, next item of new business is the new benches at Basin Park. We've seen pictures, a picture.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
that
there's
for us?
a set of photos that was passing around that, Mark's got them, yeah.
Have,
So one of them looks like it's metal on the sides and slats of wood in the middle that look like it's artistic. Is that?
Yeah, so they're all pretty, I mean, they're all artistic, but the one with the kind of the lighter shade and the silver siding is the one that
Yeah.
we're gonna
I-
donate to Stephanie Huffman at
If
the,
it was me, I'd like the more artistic one, but because it's going in the basin, it feels like the other one is more,
oh, and these aren't like, I'm not saying like
Okay.
you guys are choosing, but those are just
Good.
samples of his work that
Okay.
he's done before, just to
okay. I
make
think
you,
more
make
the
you
issue
realize.
for us is to realize that we do need to replace the old ones. I think more of our issue is to look at the old wooden benches in the park, which are in bad shape,
Really bad shape.
and recognize that we need to
replace them.
replace them.
Yeah, do we need a motion to replace them?
I thought we did.
I thought we did too,
I
just
thought we
checking.
voted on that.
Yeah.
I mean, it would definitely be a large enough budget item, but the plan would be, that's why I included the one at the library that has the engraving on it, is that, Dustin's capable of taking a bench and then people could, I think Ruth was just talking to me about wanting a bench for her mother-in-law
Yeah.
and,
I think that would
dedicating
be
one.
nice.
And it's like, okay, well, if people are willing to, pay X amount of dollars, it goes towards these new
Yeah.
benches and you get,
Oh,
something.
I did
engraved.
mention this last month. I have someone who wants to buy a bench and then dedicate it to an individual who is no longer alive. So we wanted to find out how much the benches were going to cost and all that, so
Yeah.
that they could just give you the money for it.
Okay.
So I'm sure there's more people in town who would like to do the same thing, like,
And there's a brief,
You'll
if you
have
look it
too
up,
many
there's,
benches.
if you look it up, there's a brief policy that's in their records already that talks about policies for memorials in the parks.
Oh.
It's not real specific as to who you call, what you do, what the procedure, what the money, but it does say that it's something we do,
Yeah.
that Parks does, as opposed to Public Works or
My
something.
recommendation would be to, let's bring this down to real things. What would Kyle and the HTC, how much involvement would they want to be in improving what we actually do? Because,
Right.
get a very specific what we're going to do, how many we would get, and let's put this to bed.
maybe
You
do
know.
a lottery on the benches and everyone put in the money to get a bench. And you may or may not get a bench, but you
I
would
say
have a
first
lottery.
person writes a check gets a bench.
Right.
But I mean, we can't really put that out there until we know exactly what they
Right.
are and what the cost to do that
Yeah, and
would
we
be.
met on yesterday afternoon at Basin with I guess I'll say their name, Dustin and Adrian. So they'd be working together on this. And once we have the one down there at Leatherwood put in for Stephanie, I think they'll help to be like, hey, this is something we're thinking about doing for Basin. And by then, hopefully Dustin will have like a digital rendering of what the benches would look like, you know, down there at Basin. They're not going to look exactly like that, but,
Right.
and then we could say, you know, if you want to sponsor a bench, like we'll decide a cost of how much you would need to do that, and then,
We
And like-
definitely just need to get everybody okay and buy-in ahead of time and understand who's going to be invested and what they look like, get that done, get
Yeah.
a price,
I agree.
decide how many, and then get them done.
Yeah, prepare that, check with Kyle and HDs, make sure we're okay with that part of it.
I don't think, yeah, I mean, I've sort of,
Do we have to be?
I mean,
for
he
the-
was CC'd on one of the
I'll
earlier
check with him.
emails I sent when I was sort of
Okay,
just
so he knows,
perusing
in
the
other words, not
idea.
that he gets to decide, just that he knows.
Yeah. I'll keep him in the loop, so.
Well,
How
yeah.
are these benches attached, and are they big
Movable?
bolts that keep?
Oh, they're
Needs to be
movable. We'd
movable.
want them to be movable for,
Yeah.
you know, the fact that they're going to be like,
Well,
you know,
and-
drum circles and stuff like that.
Yeah,
so you can-
absolutely movable.
Okay, so in that case, it feels like it's less historical in the sense that you're not building it
It's not
into
permanent.
anything,
True.
they're removable.
True.
Yeah,
I'm not even sure that we can't just do whatever we want to.
I think
But
you're right.
but I would prefer that everybody likes the idea, you know, like. hey,
Yeah,
does-
yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
does the city council, I mean, I don't, whoever has to approve it, I would assume Kyle would do it for the city,
Mm-hmm.
represent them. And once we get there, hey, yeah, those look good, I think that'd be great, then let's just do it.
Yeah, come up with a written, whatever, of what these look like, how many there'll be, and then a chance for them and/or the public, I don't know, they don't decide, you know, you've already just,
oh, we'll get people who are like, will complain about it, but I
I
think
know, and I'm just trying to say it in a way.
98% of the
that-
people will say,
We
we'll be
welcome
happy with
input,
it.
but it's not like, because we have one complaint, we're not going to do it. We just have to make sure that there's,
Yeah,
and I'm looking for positive input, hoping
Yeah.
somebody will say, hey, this looks great. What, you know, I've always wanted to hear about this. That's more what I'm really looking for. So
Well, compared to what's there right now,
that's,
I mean,
needs
to
the
be
scenario
That's
that
the
we
most important
have,
thing. It looks-
this just has to be done.
replaced.
The other thing I do worry a little bit about, if somebody dedicates a bench and pays for it, you know, and then, you know, 5 years from now, we redo the whole, we just got to keep that in mind, that there's, a bench doesn't last forever. and-
It's the length of the time of the bench.
Yeah.
yeah, they're not permanent memorials, so just, or it's not as
Right.
permanent, they're more
Just-
temporary.
yeah. I mean, these benches will last a long time.
But maybe less
They
of a
look like
memorial
they
bench
would.
and more of just a sponsored bench, really.
Sponsored's
Yeah.
better.
Yeah.
It's a better way than putting it. They're not really a memorial because they are going to be moved around and possibly replaced.
Because it's
and-
not like, yeah, you don't have to memorialize, I mean, it doesn't have to always be
Just
someone for someone who
sponsored
passed,
benches.
but if you wanted to put, I mean, obviously, there will be rules, but, you know, you could, if like the community center wanted to buy one, I'm assuming we could put, you
Yeah,
know,
we could
Eureka
just
Springs
do the
Community
sponsored
Center on
benches.
it.
Well, like, looking at the design with the slats and the
Probably won't do
woods,
Mountain Dew or anything like
You-
that, but,
Right. You could do like bricks on a pavement. You know, you could sell a slat for each individual one, and then more people have their names on every
hey,
bench.
hey, hey, hey.
I'm trying to make money for the park.
Make money. Good job, Rod.
So, I mean, there's no reason why we couldn't engrave a name, and you bought it for $150, and then whatever it costs to make the bench, each slat's gonna be more than that, so you're gonna have more money, and I would do that. I would buy one, have my name on it, because I'm proud to be part of Eureka Springs. So, and I'm sure there's a lot of other people who would be as well.
That's a
So
great
this would be a
idea.
way
That's
to
a fun
make
idea.
money for those park benches.
I'm wondering if there's a few benches we could do, like, where, instead of like a full message on the, you know, that takes up the whole middle slat, you could do ones where there's just like people's names, like whoever donated $100, like you
Yes.
get.
Yeah,
boom,
just-
That's
boom, boom,
exactly
that
what I'm
whole
saying.
middle
One or two
slat
that are
goes.
community named, yeah, like
They'd
a,
have that at the community center. I mean, there's
Yeah.
a board of, you know, people who donated. So everyone gets recognized, even if you,
But
That's a
to
fun
Mark's
idea.
point, I think it's important that we move forward, so whatever it is needs to happen.
yeah, whatever you want to do. Yeah, just the old ones look bad.
Come back with the exact thing you want us to
Yeah.
do, and whatever if we need to
Yeah.
vote for it, good. If
Yep.
we don't,
okay.
Fine.
good, but we need to do it.
Yep.
All right. Anything else? Okay, next item on new business is dam proposal.
That damn. Sorry, there's a lot of stuff that I guess, we haven't been voting on, but we only meet once a month, so I figured it's important to let you guys know
It
what
is.
I'm thinking.
It also
So
allows
this-
it to be broadcast, or people can watch this too if they want to know about it,
Yeah,
so that's good.
yeah.
So this isn't fixing it permanently, it's just reopening it. Yeah, I
Yeah,
saw. Wait,
um,
what's happening with the fixing it permanently? Because if I remember, there was a discussion at one point about we could sort of repair the concrete that was there? Was that not
I think-
viable?
I
Or?
think that's viable, but I think we still should. I mean, I know it's not the prettiest thing, but I still think we should
Can we
do something.
Can we do
For
both?
safety.
Can we
For
get a
safety.
quote for actually repairing it? Because I
I'm
know
actually-
we've talked about it
I am
so
working,
much.
yeah, there's I've been talking with Trailblazers about potentially coming in and fixing the broken handrail portions, but in the
But
meantime.
can we just get because there was discussion about completely replacing it. We got some quote that was crazy. And then there was like another possible
Speak up, Carissa.
option. What was that, Lori?
Speak up,
Oh,
please.
sorry. So I just remember there'd been everything from, God, one was almost $1 million to 20,000. And I mean, I think we need to do something temporarily and long-term.
Yeah.
Can we get a quote for fixing it? And
Mm-hmm.
can we do this interim stuff in the meantime?
Yeah.
It should be
This
open.
is more like, yeah,
Needs to be
this is more
open.
like, this is something we can actually afford and probably do in-house to get it reopened as soon as possible. And then
Absolutely.
after we get that done, like, definitely we can still bring people out there, or contractors to
Yeah.
look at it and say, like, hey, how much would you charge for this? But I still think it's probably a good idea to have the fencing just
Oh, I
for
totally
extra
agree.
safety.
I'm saying not one or the other.
Yeah.
I'm saying do the fencing, but can we
Yeah.
please move forward with getting quotes for the permanent repair as well in parallel? Because
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I thought at one point we were going to be getting a proposal for just repairing it.
Well, we
Because
had-
remember there was that discussion about it doesn't matter, we can repair it, it's not going to be historically.
Yeah, but Scott also argued that he wanted, in fact, if you recall, he asked for funding for consulting colleague, he was going to have colleague do a
Colleague.
grant, try to get a grants and stuff like that for it, because I don't think there was ever any resolution other than that, like, $2 million quote that he had. You remember, we were really pushing back on getting that opened up one way or the other.
But there was definitely a discussion, I never saw a
Yeah.
proposal, but there was definitely a discussion about we don't have to replace the whole thing. We can repair it. It's concrete. It's not any special concrete.
I think you're remembering the discussion about some of the concrete discussion. I know you can look back and read about repairing this area of concrete, but not the total. I don't think we did a whole quote on it. We looked. This is a sample of it. Steve Dickey brought us a sample of it, a piece of it. We looked at it to see what kind of concrete it was. They looked at it. Yes, it can be repaired. I don't think there was an actual plan from that other than as a non-historical repair, that's an option, but I don't think we got any further with that other than.
Maybe
that's
we
just-
can get some quotes then.
Yeah,
Yeah.
But I think that's part of this.
Well, I think we should definitely do the interim.
Yeah, just do this and then
Yeah.
keep working on the other and just keep revisiting it because it does need to be.
Yeah, I think everybody would agree it's a high priority item overall. But nobody that I've talked to in town or ever in any park or any situation, one of the biggest things, everybody wants to be able to go over the dam and have that open back up and have a loop.
It is very
Yeah,
frustrating
it's
to,
huge.
ride a bike out there and then,
And stop.
yeah.
And just turn around and come back.
Do we
So-
know who built the bridge originally?
Yes, we do.
Okay,
It
who is
was, it was during the Depression. It was, what was that? Public?
Corps of Engineers?
No, there was the other
Civilian
one.
Conservation Corps, part of
Yeah.
part of the WPA.
Yes.
WPA,
Yeah.
And that's,
okay.
and there's so many, there's things in the park that are on state and historic national registers, I'm not sure exactly, but when we talked to that one individual who was an expert in historic preservation of these kind of things,
Yeah.
that was a man, that was the big giant quote in the information that Scott gave us. That's beyond our scope, And apparently, it's not really necessary to maintain that level of historicness if it's a safety rail on top of the dam.
Exactly.
You know,
We
the
need to
state
bring it
historic
up to
people, and
code.
Kylie even said, there's
Yeah.
no reason to make something exactly like it was if what it was crumbling and unsafe.
Exactly.
You know?
That was a debate I know that I had with Scott on that
Mm-hmm.
very specific thing. I mean, it's one thing for it to be historic, it's another thing, you don't do bad things again bad just because
Right.
it was done, 100 years ago that way. But again, just for my 2 cents, I say, go do this.
Go do this, and then
You know?
we'll just keep talking about it, something
But-
Get it
prettier
open
later
again.
on,
But
something
can we
prettier later
also
on.
just get quotes for the other work?
Yeah.
Because
This
we
will-
have the ridiculous quote that we can't do, but we don't have anything else.
Let's see all of our options. Let's see what our options are to
Yeah.
repair
So,
it permanently.
Are we tied to the same railings that are there now? Because it is historical, or it is not? It is not. So we could actually build a brand-new bridge over the whole thing and not touch the dam at all?
I think there were some
Not going to agree with that
limitations,
statement, but
I
it's,
think
we're not tied to making it look exactly like it did. According
Okay.
to,
Yeah.
I mean, Lori's had experience with, we've all had experience with different historical things, and
We should probably loop Kyle in to the discussion, just to make sure.
But
and
when-
maybe he could,
for that part, I mean, for this part, though, this is a done deal. You're
Absolutely.
going to
Right.
fix
Do
it,
it.
Sam, done.
Do
Can we
it
make it look
as
like
soon as
Rainbow
possible.
Road from Mario Kart? That's what I want to do.
Yeah.
So
Open the
I
dam.
think everybody agrees that we should do this. And
Yeah,
then
I
everybody
agree.
So-
agrees that we should
Get
follow
quotes.
up on all of our options to repair the dam
Yeah.
permanently.
Yeah.
Looking at
Regardless-
realistic, feasible quotes.
Yeah, nothing $2 million.
Yeah, we
Some
can.
plans that they're prettier than this, what will look like, it will look like a temporary repair.
It will.
But it'll be usable, and that's fine.
It'll be safe.
Be safe.
Yeah,
I think it being functional would be pretty beneficial.
Yeah.
the plan would be to buy just 2 or 3 of those panels, and the stuff I'm thinking will work to actually put it up there,
Brace it on.
brace it on.
Perfect.
And then if it works, like, okay, we're going to order the other 138 of them or whatever it is, so,
Yeah.
yeah.
So is the 12 to 13K here what you've estimated to do the whole thing?
Yeah, it's like 10.4 for all the fence paneling, but then an extra couple $1,000 for all the strapping that we would need to,
Okay.
which I was kind of surprised. I was like, wow, that's pretty affordable. Like,
It's kind of shocking.
huh?
I bet I've been asked, I know I've asked about this in 10 different meetings because I knew there had to be some way we could get that open at least until we could do
Temporarily.
something else.
Yeah.
And that needs to be done.
Yeah.
But let's make sure it doesn't become, we're talking about it next year.
Yeah, yeah.
So it is truly temporary.
What's that?
It may be there for,
I think a year is probably reasonable for it to
Well,
be
but I
there,
mean
though.
that we're not here in the same place going, what are our options?
Right.
What's it going to
Gotcha.
cost?
but
You
once
know,
this,
that we have a plan, even if this is like a 2-year thing, but we know how much that it's going to be replaced. I've seen too many temporary solutions there 5-10 years later.
Honestly, I think that the dam itself could be its own committee,
yes, it could.
where people that are interested in it and want to do it could get together, get the research, talk to historical people, do whatever, and make recommendations. So that's a thought maybe to put on an agenda item sometime in the near future.
I
Yeah,
agree,
it's a
because
good
it
point.
does, it's going to take a year or two, we assume, to get this kind of process going. The ideas,
Research grants. see
research
if there's-
grants, all that stuff. Yeah, it could be probably be a really good idea. So we put that on the agenda to establish that committee.
So what do we need to do now for,
Now, nothing
That-
other than
that's-
we know that, wait, is this in the budget already for you to spend this money, Sam?
No.
It wasn't an itemized item, so I actually think for this,
Plus, we've been making all kinds of Skrilla.
for me, I think this is one of those items that we talked a lot about, adding things, not giving all that money up ahead of time, and then we would do it as time
Yes.
went by when we decided. To me, this is one of those
One of
items
those,
that we specifically
Yeah.
add by motion and say, you know, hey, for me, I would just say 15K, and add it as a budget line item and actually add it to the budget,
I agree.
as opposed to trying to squirrel it away from everywhere else to do it.
Yeah.
Just make
Are
a
you
budget
making a
amendment.
motion?
I will, if we
I
need,
think,
if
I think you're
everybody
right.
agrees.
No, I think
if
you're right. We
everybody
need a
agrees
budget,
to
I think a budget
So,
amendment is a good
then,
idea.
I move that we amend the budget for this line item to temporarily repair the dam in the amount of $15,000.
And I want to second that one.
That's Mark, that's Rod. Any discussion? No. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion passes 5-0.
Can I
Yay.
ask a question to go back one step to the benches? Are we allowed to put benches on any of the trails that are in the city? I mean, is there anything that says that we could not?
You want to put a bench on a trail?
And, you know, like, say, for example, the Crescent Trail, the one that I told you that
Yeah.
has the stairs all over the place,
Yeah.
and they're like eroded around the stairs. Is there no reason why, or is there any reason why we could not put benches on any of those trails through town and then make money off of those benches? Because I like to stop
I
sometimes.
totally agree.
And I
Those
want to
trails
sit
need
down and enjoy
benches.
the nature that's in Eureka that makes it so beautiful. And there's the one that's above Rogue Manor Restaurant that has the stairs that come down, and there's a park bench there that's really crooked. But if we was to replace that with a good bench, then there's another one that you could offer to the
We
public.
have a bunch of benches we're going to have a bunch of benches at Basin Park.
I know, but they're only at the park. They're
I'm saying
only
the
at
old
park.
ones.
Oh,
Yeah.
no, those have to be eliminated.
But
So-
in that little policy that talks about
That's what I need to know.
parking, it's kind of a short policy. It mentions Basin Park specifically, it mentions Lake Leatherwood, I think, and then it says, or any parks, and where the Parks Department decides that it's okay, you know, there's not a specific thing that says you can't do it on Parks property.
There's spots, there's spots where I've thought would go good for just
Okay,
tables
so
and benches.
then I think that we should consider this, because there are spots that I love to walk through, the Magnolia Trail for one of them, and there's no park bench to stop. There's no
Spring
place to
Garden.
sit down. And there's some beautiful spots that where you just sit there, even if you're just looking at the mushrooms, it's cool. So if we had park benches and we offered them to the public, that they could also buy those park benches as well, because I meet people on these trails all the time. So this would be a way to make money for the Parks and
Well,
Recreation.
I don't think it'd actually be a revenue stream because it would just be an expense-covered stream, you know,
Yeah.
because we wouldn't
Yeah.
sell them for more than
But we charge,
paid for 'em.
anytime you wanted to sit down, there's a rental
Oh,
fee.
yeah, you're like,
Stop it.
you can put a little quarter in the
Stop it. Reserve it, right, okay. But there would be a way
I like that.
that we wouldn't have to pay for the benches.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They would at least be paid for.
It's an improvement that would cost us
Yeah.
any money
cost
other than the
improvement.
installation of the bench, getting it out to the
I
spot.
love that idea.
But-
Okay, all right.
I do too.
Makes me happy. I just had to ask a question.
Okay. I was looking I had a copy of that policy in here, but I don't need to look at it now. But you
Okay.
can
You
find
can-
it. It's
you
just
can
a
tell me
short
later.
page.
That's
It's very
good.
short and it's worded very vaguely, where in other words, the Parks Department can decide where it's okay to put one. That doesn't say that, but it says something to that effect. Okay. Anything else on new business? Did we cover it all?
I think that's all of it.
I think we did. Commissioner comments are next. Start with Carissa on that end.
Just
Commissioner
one
comments?
question. On the director's report, it mentioned the final stage of the Basin Park study. When can we expect a report on that?
I think that's June-ish,
Okay.
like
And will they be
mid to
coming?
late June, I think.
Will
is-
they be coming to?
I think they'll
A meeting?
at least like,
I'd
they're
like
going
them
to
to
deliver the
present.
report, and then I
Yeah.
think they want to sit down with, not trying to make myself sound important, but me and like the mayor and the HDC, and then once they're feeling like, they're ready to present it, they want to present it to everyone in Eureka, the public.
Yeah, they want to do a
and then
public forum. I forgot
Public
about that.
forum for it.
That's actually written in there thing.
Okay.
They intend to, after it's
Yeah.
solidified, to be presented to the public.
Okay,
So
so
we'll
it's
have-
presented to the public before, and in the same time, the commissioners would be, I mean, we didn't get an advance presentation or a
Oh, yeah, you
workshop?
could-
or-
you
No,
could
we'll know
definitely-
it. We'll
yeah.
do before that. When I meant solidified, I meant all of us have looked at it and
Yeah.
make sure
Okay.
we understand it, as well as the mayor has met with them, and then we'll look
Yeah.
at it and
Okay.
Yeah, whenever I get it, I can forward it to you guys.
Because I'm really
So-
looking forward to what they have to say, and,
Yeah.
you know, it'd be, I think we all have been waiting a long time.
I can
Yeah.
see it more as like a workshop. Once you get to that point, the workshop being, you come back and tell us what's going on with it, so we all know, we talk about it, ask questions.
Yeah.
And then afterwards, we can talk about making, at a meeting, perhaps make a decision to, when to do a public forum.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Okay. Commissioner comments? Any other comments? Sorry, I have any questions? No. Jonathan?
It's good to be back.
Good to be back. Good, we're glad to have you.
Don't call it a comeback.
Mark?
I would like to second Sam's comments about how well the park people did an amazing job out of the Sal Wilson Memorial Service, and everything was organized, well done. The park looked beautiful. You could tell people have been working. It was, and I don't know, 200 people at least?
At least.
At
I would
least
say more.
out there.
More.
So it was a pretty cool thing.
Okay.
Can I mention that we want to consider doing something like this on a yearly basis for, call it Salfest? And,
I love it.
That's cool.
yeah, I think it'd be really cool. And, you know, in the future, it could go towards like raising money for certain organizations within the town, you know? So,
It's fun. I like the
Yeah.
idea. Rod, anything? I don't really have anything to say other than I was going to echo the thank yous to, and also to your staff for all that they had to do that day. That was a lot of work. Rod, anything?
I'm good. I'm very happy.
Sam, anything else you need to say to us or to
Lori?
the public?
Lori?
Lori, do you have anything?
Lori, I forgot about you. Sorry, I'm sorry. I didn't see you.
No, I have no comment, sorry.
Okay.
We can hear you loud and
Fine, be
clear.
that way.
When someone's phoning in, we ought to have little cutouts of their faces we can put here. So you can see them on camera.
And we'll have Sam,
We do need to get those little fancy things that CAPC has. They got the little like nameplates. That
Yeah,
they,
yeah.
yeah. Like, come on, man. Y'all step up your game. You're making. Come on.
I guess we don't rate. We don't have those.
we want to spend our money on the parks.
Yeah, I agree.
There you go.
That's right. Okay, so we have minutes from the previous meeting, April 18th. Has everybody seen them?
And I
Do we need-
apologize, I just got them out yesterday, but
That's fine.
Okay, I saw them.
Anybody else need to look at them? You have them, some of you seen them somewhere. Lori, you've seen the minutes?
Yes,
Okay. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes from the meeting?
I motion we approve the minutes from last meeting.
Carissa, a second?
Second,
Rod, a second. Any questions, discussion? All in favor, say aye.
aye.
Motion passes 5-0. The minutes of the meeting from April 18, 2023 are approved and passed. Okay. What's next? Anything else? Any other announcements? Anything else we need to talk about? Announce? Tell? No? Motion to adjourn?
I move to adjourn.
It's Mark?
Second.
Carissa? Discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 Motion passes 5-0. We are adjourned.
Dinner time.
It is, whatever time it is, 7:30 PM.
Are you kidding me?
Thank you.
I am
Yes.
so good at this.
All right. We're done.
Oh, God, thank you